Hey guys, how's it going? So today I'm going to be doing a Paintiver critique of this piece called Time Suit by Dong Cao. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. Who knows? Sorry, Dong. I apologize if I said it wrong. Anyway, so yeah, he sent in this piece asking me to do a paintover. So first off, I want to start by saying that rendering-wise, I think you did a pretty good job for the style that it looks like you were going for, which is more of a cartoony, almost cel-shaded look where you could still see the line art. I actually think you did a really good job. I would suggest maybe having a little bit more of a defined light source. It does seem like it's generally coming from the top left, but the shadows seem pretty vague. I would just say maybe defining that a little more. Besides that, the rendering I think looks really awesome. I like the lightning effect in the background and the colored palette that you picked. I think it looks great. So my main critique today is going to be just on kind of on the proportions and on the perspective. As far as the proportions go, it's kind of more of a stylistic choice. It's totally up to you what style you're going for. So you can take or leave the proportions. As far as the perspective goes, this is something that you do kind of want to get right, regardless of what style you're going for. You really want things to be in perspective. So all I focused on was the drawing. I didn't really render anything. I just wanted to focus on the underdrawing because, like I said, your rendering was good. It was just the underdrawing that I saw that needed help. So to start off, I wanted to, let's see, get a bright color we can see to draw with. Right off, I ended up changing the proportions a little bit because assuming, I don't know if this is a robot or if it's supposed to be a suit. I assumed it was a suit. Maybe it's not, since the piece is called Time Suit. So if it's a suit, that means a person has to fit inside of there. And so I adjusted the proportions to be more realistic if there is a person inside of there. But once again, it's a style thing. So if you want it to look more stylized, that's totally fine. As far as the proportions go, I'm going to point out a couple things I noticed and then show you how I solved them in mine. So first off, on his head, on his helmet, the line that comes down his face should be around right there probably. But this shape is not centered in that, right? It's like off to the right, and it needs to be more lined up with that angle. Okay, so that was one thing I noticed. Also, just getting some consistency in some of these parts, like this piece right here that goes along the back. You would probably be able to see it coming around the other side, but instead it just kind of like drops off. There's nothing over here, so we want to fix that. This wasn't really making a whole lot of sense, how on this side this strap attaches to the front, but then on this side it appears to be attaching not to the front but to the side, almost like it's attaching to this side of it, and that didn't really make a lot of sense to me either. And just the way the strap is going back, it doesn't look prospectively lined up with the other side. So I'm just gonna go back and show you mine really quick on just the drawing side. Like I said, I rearranged the can't believe I just forgot this word. Starts with a P. I rearranged the size of his limbs and stuff to make it look more realistic. I can't believe what is that word? I'm sure someone will let me know in the comments the word I'm trying to think of. So I rearranged it. I also tried to give him a little bit more of a dynamic pose where his arms are a little bit more thrust back, and since it was supposed to look like he's flying, I believe, and I brought his head up a little bit more. So I brought these around right here and connected them so that they both looked like they're facing forward, and completed that all the way around. Also, on this one, I noticed that on this side the chest piece had one flat plane and then another one here and another one here, but on this side it has an extra one where it goes like this, then this, then this, and then this. And I mean, maybe you did that on purpose, but looks like everything else in the piece you're trying to make symmetrical, so I just went ahead and cut out those two extra planes and made it symmetrical. Okay. Then the next thing I noticed was the shoulder plates. They're not quite making sense in space, like they don't quite add up. This one seems pretty flat, right? and it's also seems like it's angled forward more, but this one is super curvy, and really, on all honesty, we'd only be able to see the edge about like that. You want to be able to see this whole flat face facing us, because that's not how this one is. And if we're going through for symmetry, then that wouldn't work. So I did that. I flattened it up more and then turned this one away from us more, so we weren't seeing as much of that side. Okay, and then next thing, I tried to bring this up to symmetry. This part right here was really short compared to this part. Just stuff like that, trying to really get the perspective. And really, it just comes down to, a lot of times, we're not really thinking super hard about it. We're just kind of guessing. We're just kind of going along with it. But if you're guessing, it's going to look like you guessed. If you just take the time to really stop and think about it, and almost imagine this as an object in 3D space in your head, and try and imagine turning it in your mind, and just looking at it and comparing it, like, does that really add up? Does that make sense? Does that perspective make sense? And then trying to fix it, you're usually able to figure it out. So let's see, what else? Kept this part right here, looked really good. I really like the shapes you made, and they look really good in perspective. This part, however, didn't make a lot of sense. The way that these were lining up. This one comes up here, and then this one seems like a lot lower, and also the shape in the front is not the same shape as this one. So it does look kind of weird. So I changed that. I tried to get these pretty close to the same shape, and where I felt they would be the same height, and then also like I said, I kept this stuff pretty close to the same, because I thought you did a really good job on that. And all this stuff in here, just tried to make sure that all this stuff was lining up on each side, and actually in perspective, that it was in the same location. And I would recommend doing the same thing on this piece, on the original, to try and just line up the different spots. The cod piece looked really great. Let's see, the arms. So the arms, they kind of, I don't know, they had some good stuff going on, but at the same time, the biceps weren't really lining up with where they would actually be. Also, the length of his arms were pretty long compared to an actual person. So I brought those down a little bit. I shortened this, and you can see on mine, they're more proportionate. Tried to get the biceps in the right place where they would be. Make sure these are wrapped around on the right side of the forearm, depending on how much his arm is turned out or not. The hands, towards the end, I was running out of time. I had spent way too much time on this. I had other stuff I had to do, so I kind of just hurried through the hands, and then also the last little bit of the feet. I didn't put a lot of time into them just because I was on a time crunch. But I thought your hands looked pretty good anyways. They might have just been a little bit large. But once again, totally a style thing. If you're going for something more realistic, though, then I'd probably bring them down a little bit in size. Then this part, these kind of fin things on his thighs, they weren't really adding up exactly the way that you have him placed in perspective, as well as where this piece is on his leg seemed a little bit low in yours. I would just, once again, just really try and focus on getting that in perspective. This would probably be wrapping around his leg more, this orange piece here, and a little bit wider than this one. Or it would be wider like this one. Yeah, and overall this piece just seems like a little bit smaller than the other one. Then also down here, I'm just getting these perspective lines right. Stuff like that. This looks pretty good, but once again, like really hitting those lines for the perspective. And then, yeah, I liked the feet. I thought the feet were a good job. Same with this one. It almost seems like maybe you did what I did, where you kind of, in the drawing phase, started getting a little bit tired. And because up here, I feel like there's a lot more detail and it's a lot more thought out. And down here, it seems like you kind of lost motivation and sort of just like hurried up through it because these legs have a lot of things that don't match up, like the size of this piece right here. Not quite the same. This thing, like, it just, there were some things that weren't adding up. So cleaning those up, maybe getting that a little bit more in perspective. Overall, though, I really like it. I thought you did a really good job, and all of my stuff was really just on the drawing aspect of things. On mine, it's a little bit hard to tell since there's no value, there's not any shading, but this leg is right here is lifted up, almost like bent a little bit, with this part going back into space, so that he's kind of like flying, you know, almost like a Superman pose. And if this had lighting on it, I would be able to shade under here, and you'd be able to tell, like, oh, okay, that's in shadow because his knee is bent backwards, but it's a little bit hard to tell, so it just kind of looks like his leg is shorter. But hopefully you could tell what I was trying to get across. But yeah, once again, I didn't have a ton of time to spend on the feet, so they look pretty sketchy, they look pretty rough, but I tried to keep all of the details you had the same and not really mess with the actual design, just some of the scale. That's the word I was thinking for. Scale. Proportions. I remembered the word. Okay. So yeah, overall, I think you did a great job. I would focus on these three things. Proportion, perspective. Even if it's something like this, it's still going to be perspective lines going throughout the image, right? They're still going to be heading towards something. And even if it's almost completely straight, there's still lines that you'd want everything to line up with. So yeah, proportion, perspective, and then the other thing would be kind of gesture. Really think about your pose. I think that this pose isn't bad or horrible, but it doesn't really send a message, right? It's kind of just showcasing the suit, but it doesn't evoke any sort of feeling or mood or anything from the character. It's just, this is the suit. So putting some sort of a little bit of action to it, you know, in this one, his chest is out, his arms are back, his head is up a little bit. We're looking at him from a little bit lower angle, and it just makes him feel more heroic. I would recommend doing something like that. So Dong, I will go ahead and send you this, and you can, if you want to practice painting over it, you can, or whatever you want. Totally up to you. But yeah, thanks for letting me critique your piece. If you guys want your own pieces to have a paint over done, then send it in. The email address you can send it to is austinbatchcritiques, and it's in the description below. Also, today is the last day for the sale on my courses. If you are a new subscriber or an old-time subscriber, you can get access to the course I just released on how to paint eyes. It's all about painting eyes from humans to creatures, and it goes really in depth. And that one is completely free for all of my subscribers, right? That's a gift from me to you for just being so freaking awesome. So take advantage of that. That link is in the description as well, and that will be there forever. As long as my YouTube channel is up, anyone who subscribes can get access to that. The other two courses that I have on sale are my creature design one, which is 9.5 hours long of really in-depth everything about creatures, from doing studies to animal anatomy to understanding the brief from art director, the design process, colors, patterns, everything you can think of. It's awesome. I put a lot of time into it, and it's definitely worth your money. And if you don't like it on any of my courses, it's 100% money back guarantee. So if you don't like it, get your money back. I mean, I'm not going to be offended if it didn't provide value for you, then, you know, don't pay for it. So yeah, there's that one. And then the other one is digital cell shading. So how to digitally paint in the cell shading style. That's pretty popular these days. And normally my creature design one is $100, but it's going to be on sale until the end of today for $24. Okay, that's over 75% off. Exactly 76% off, actually. And then the other one is the digital cell shading one is normally $65, but it's only $20 today. So don't miss out on that. Go click on the links. Those are all in the description. You click on them, it'll take you right to it. Don't miss out on these courses. Like I said, 100% money back guarantee. And today is the last day. So after today, they're going to go back up to their normal price. So if you haven't gotten them yet, I really encourage you to jump on it. And then if you don't like it, get your money back. Okay? So anyways, once again, you guys are awesome. Thanks for all of your support. I'm really excited to start getting back into this regularly and posting more videos for you guys. So hope you have a great day. Bye.